Okay, so to recap, in Chapter 1, we discussed Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. We gave the movie some historical context, and then in Chapter 2, we covered all of the Bruce-sploitation clone movies that came out in the following 15 years to use the name of Fist of Fury in their title. And in the last chapter, we looked at some 90s movies, including Jet Li's Fist of Legend remake, which I think is the only movie in the series to arguably rival Bruce's original. This chapter is going to be on just 3 movies, 2 of which star Donnie Yen. Yes, Donnie Yen. Now, I love all these guys, but I've been rooting for Yen for as long as I'd seen him on screen. If you're a hardcore kung fu guy, then you know him from way back in Once Upon a Time in China Part 2, or Iron Monkey, or Ip Man, or Hero. But if you only consume Western Hollywood movies, you might know him from Blade 2, or Highlander 4 Endgame, or XXX, The Return of Xander Cage, or Star Wars, Rogue One. I mean, this guy can jump in the air and kick 4 guys before landing, no wires, no CGI.
In 1911, the raging waves of revolution finally toppled the Qing dynasty, and the Republic of China was then established. For a few years, there was peace in the country, until turmoil struck again at the onset of the warlord period, as Chinese from both north and south waged war against each other. Taking advantage of the situation, foreigners came in and occupied certain lands by force, building their so-called settlements and officially claiming these areas as their own respective territories. Feeling superior over the Chinese people, these foreigners mocked them with degrading insults in their own land, demoralizing them into passive submissiveness. Deeply hurt by the decadence of his own people, a martial artist named Fok Yuan Gab organized a meeting among the masters of various martial arts schools who were more preoccupied with competing for recognition despite the disarray. His goal was to unite them and save the country with the use of martial arts.
Now our first stop here is 1995 for the Donnie Yen remake of Fist of Fury of the same name. Now some people watching this right now are already yelling at their screen that it's a TV series, it's a TV series. And they're correct. That's fair enough. I would have skipped this because it is a TV series with 30 episodes, except that we got an edited version that was released on DVD that just runs 2 hours long.
I'm going to allow it.
And this version of Fist of Fury is faithful in all the ways that matter. Even though the story has many detours and different explorations of scenes that differ from the original. With 30 episodes, it only makes sense that they'd have to expand certain parts and explore other dynamics, and most of that doesn't make it into this cut, but we do get a few scenes that illustrate some of the larger scope. For example, Chen gets imprisoned after crippling a Japanese fighter in this version, and there's also a scene with arrows that have sticks of dynamite strapped to them being shot at fleeing political Chinese nationals along the beach, which is pretty spectacular.
Don't let them get away! Go on! Hold on, master!
And also, rather than being abroad and then coming home to find his master poisoned and dead, Huo Yunjia is alive for much of the film, giving it a much different flavor than the Bruce Lee original. And if we go back to Rick Meyer's Films of Fury, we can glean a little insight of Yen's intentions and why he wanted to make it. I didn't want to do TV because I didn't expect to have the kind of freedom in terms of choreography and production support that I had in films, but when they told me I'd be working with my good friend Benny Chan, the director of The Big Bullet, I agreed to talk about it. So I did The Kung Fu Master, and the ratings went straight up. So they asked me to do another series, and I said, if I'm going to do another one, I'm going to have more control. Let's do a Bruce Lee series, because he's my idol. Everybody was affected by Bruce Lee. At first, I just watched his films, but stayed away from his style in real life. Then, as my martial arts skill matured, I came back to his philosophy. So I worked on the Fist of Fury TV series for 7 months, even though I was only being paid for 3 months' work. I wanted to revolutionize TV action fighting editing. I had total control of the action editing and was very proud of it, because the Fist of Fury series had the highest rating ever and made the most money of any series ever telecast on the ATV channel. That all sounds awesome, and I doubted that it was his intention to steal the score to the movie RoboCop, but that happened anyway. I wonder if that's just something that's on my DVD release and wouldn't have been in the TV series.
You must end this fight now.
He is right about the choreography, though, being very impressive for TV standards. It just excels despite the low productions that they had. The scenes are also very inventive. The fight scenes are sped up a little bit, which is too bad because Yen's the real deal, and his flips and kicks and whatnot didn't need the help. Now, I can't speak for the entire series, since I haven't seen it all, but this DVD movie version, it's worth a watch if you can track it down. It's very clear that the limitations of this production are in the budget, and not in the talent or the ingenuity or the craft. And after Donnie made his TV series adaptation, he came back 15 years later with his official theatrical entry into the Chen mythology. But in the middle, we got another taste of the legend in prequel form as hero youngster from 2004, aka Juvenile Chen. Now, still flying the patriotic flag of Chinese independence from the nasty occupying Japanese forces, this is like Iron Monkey, where we get to see a child version of Wong Fei Hong, or Muppet Babies.
小兄弟，你點解會嚟福建嘅？
我冇阿爸阿媽，周圍流浪。日本仔3-5日就殺中國人，我喺死人堆揾啲嘢換飯食，然後埋咗佢哋咯。
Maybe not really like Muppet Babies at all, but you get the idea. It's a kid version. And the production's pretty uninspired and safe to skip without worrying that you're missing anything. And also it's pretty hard to find, so for all your efforts, you might not see much of a return. Now, in 2010, Donnie Yen gives us his big-screen theatrical Chen movie, Legend of the Fist, The Return of Chen. The movie opens during a war, but it's like a swashbuckling kung fu version of war with wire stunts, and it's immediately apparent that this is a grand, larger-than-life version of a movie that starred a guy that was already larger than life. The romantic war angle in this film couldn't be better exemplified than in this homage to the movie Casablanca at the Casablanca Club, with the invaders wanting their patriotic song played while the heroes play their own anthem and drown out the fascists.
この曲
What?
やれ
Kiki, a Japanese song.
Come on.
見上げてきらめく星空風が吹
And this isn't so much like a serious film as it is a comic book superhero movie. The title alludes to this being a straight-up sequel to Jet Li's Fist of Legend. Here, Chen Zhen survives the final scene, unlike Bruce. Only he goes to war and returns to the city afterwards, having taken the name of a friend who died fighting alongside him. He uses a Kato mask to hide his identity, as shown in Black Mask and worn by the Crazy 88s in Kill Bill, to homage Bruce Lee, and works it into the Chen Zhen mythology. This mask idea will return in the next chapter as well. This is a fun movie, but without the emotional resonance of the other versions, instead becoming sort of a collage of inspirations from Bruce Lee to Jet Li to Green Hornet to Casablanca with secret identities and romance mixed in. Still, this movie is a celebration, and it delivers on much of what it promises. I just wouldn't say it topped the original, but it's still very enjoyable. Alright, well, we've touched on each of the 4 Kung Fu kings, Bruce, Jackie, Jet, and Yen. These are the faces that are carved into my mental Mount Rushmore of Kung Fu. So tell me, what are your 4 martial arts stars that would be on your Mount Rushmore of Kung Fu? Tell me in the comments below, let me know, and next we're going to be looking at the more recent Chen Zhen movies over just the last few years.